exposed to this. That's why I was saying I need to be isolated. Because I'm constantly, for years, constantly have difficult people around. And it's always something going on. You're never going to have time to heal from. Because somebody is always up under you. Here I come. Now you got to deal with me. I'm sick of fucking people. I'm tired of it. I've been going through shit for too damn long. I mean, I look on my videos on YouTube and how I talk that up, and I look at my face and all I see is a person who's been traumatized. That's all I see. Traumatized. All his fucking life, he's been treated like shit. All of his goddamn life. I'm made a certain way. I'm made a certain way. Once you fuck over me, once DA say fuck you, I mean fuck you forever. Period. And the only way that's going to change, a strong spiritual force is going to have to hit me. And even when that happens, motherfuckers don't want to speak on some of the shit that they did, and so you still conflicted because motherfuckers they just won't say they fucking sorry. They just won't say that shit. They just won't let you heal. You bring shit up. Look, you did this to me. Are you gonna at least say you fucking sorry? Or is it that you just gonna just move on? Like I'm still, fuck people. That's why I say folks need to stay the fuck away from me. That's why I need to isolate myself for a long time, and I just don't want to fucking be bothered. Because I may snap on somebody. Because folks always talking about, I'm the one holding on to the past. I'm not holding on to the past. I've been trying to resolve the past for years. It's people who don't want to talk about what the fuck they did. That's them holding on to the past. That's not me. Own up to your bullshit so we can get past this. But people don't want to do it because they can't look at themselves. And simply because they can't look at themselves, they can take it to the grave ass nigga. But everybody's still smiling in your face like you're supposed to do something for their ass. And then you conflicted because you feel like you should, but you can't because of so many unresolved matters. And people think that you're supposed to swallow all the bullshit they done put you through and just keep moving forward. But as soon as you bring it up, oh, he holding on to the past. Y'all trip, mama. All of y'all full of shit. And I never done anything to discredit y'all. I never did anything to dishonor y'all. When I got caught stealing them shoes, and when I saw you cry, that broke my fucking heart. And I'm like, damn, I will never in my life steal anything else. Because the last person on this earth I want to make cry, I was telling Bernard and them about that. I ain't ashamed. Because I told them, I said, the last person on this earth that I want to make cry is my mother. I said, I will never in my life steal anything again. I don't give a damn, nigga. I will walk to school barefoot in the fucking wintertime before I make my mama cry. I straightened up when I saw that shit. But it's a whole lot of shit that y'all did to me, mama, that y'all won't speak on. I mean, that's just like when you threw that footage of Deshaun in the trash. For what? Because I wouldn't give you $50 fucking while you was married to some nigga? And until this day, you won't speak on that shit. But as soon as I try to get y'all to, hey, let's talk about that shit, why did you do that? I'm holding on to the past, or you go silent altogether. Y'all will not open up y'all mouths and say shit to me. Not you, Daddy, or BB. And then you wonder why I'm so conflicted when it comes to y'all. And everybody all up in my face want me to do something now. And I'm at a point, I don't fucking want to be bothered with nobody. I just want to isolate myself just so I can heal from all this shit. I mean, I couldn't even go to Georgia. With good intentions. Shit, I didn't go up there. I didn't go out there because I want to fuck a whole lot of black women. I went out there so I can get married, settle my life down. Blew up in my face. Fuck it. I ain't even gonna worry about it no more.
As my YouTube video description, it reads, and I'm going to read it to you. I'm all about inner growth and healing, and I share my journey with the world without limits. When it truly comes to it, growth and healing is the only true resolve for the entire world. Hurting and healing is one movement. Okay. With that being said, what you just heard was a phone conversation. As a matter of fact, the last conversation that I had with my mother. My mother wants to move out here to Las Vegas with me. I'm the type of person, people can say I'm stubborn, people can say whatever they want, but the whole thing is, before I can go move forward with somebody, we have to sit and discuss what happened, which caused us a lot of pain in order for us to be able to move forward. I'm not the type of human being that's going to sit back and act as though nothing transpired back in the past that needs to be resolved. I mean, that's just like a person walking around, like I was saying in one of my previous videos, walking around who was hurt and they're bleeding on the inside, and no one, including themselves, is trying their hardest with honest effort to try to attend to the bleeding wound. As I said before, you have to talk things out and you have to ask questions, and so that you can come to an understanding of why, even if this person doesn't really have any logical reason why. At least let me know that. I don't know why I did that. Or I could tell you, hey, someone asked you, why did you do that to me? And even if this person doesn't have a objective answer to give you, at least they put forth an effort. But to act as though nothing happened, and though every time you try to talk to them about these issues, they either try to deflect, change the subject, or, as my mother does all the time, just go totally silent, like she's not going to talk about it. Okay, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm getting old. I'm tired of living where I'm living. I'm sick of this condition that I put myself in. And what you're going to do, you're going to rescue me. That's not the type of human being I am. Now, a whole lot of people may say, well, that's your mom and this and that and the other thing. Okay, that's fine. I understand that. But this is me we're talking about. Okay? It's me. And so I'm the type of human being to where, unless we talk about it and we resolve it, we're not going to move forward. And once I get to the point to where I'm unwilling to move forward with you, I let you go and I move forward for the sake of my own sanity and therefore peace of mind. And I will leave you where you are. That's the type of human being I am. Now, most people may say, well, that's cold. Well, as I said before, I live my life in a way that is very transparent. I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything to hide. Now, with that being said, it only means one thing. I don't care what you think. I don't care how you feel. I feel as though the life that I've lived is not a life that is unique. I feel as though what I have to talk about, a lot of people have experienced it. It's just that a lot of people are just not willing to talk about it, or a lot of people really don't know how to approach the issue. And primarily, especially in these times, a lot of people are far more too concerned about how other people are going to see them, how other people are going to feel about them, and how other people and what other people are going to say of them. I am not the type of person who cares about those things, because when I talk about specific issues, I put everything on the table. I'm not concerned about how it makes me. I'm not concerned about a whole lot of things that you're going to say and how you're going to feel about it. My primary concern is reaching the people who are suffering these type of things and trying to help them understand exactly what I feel that they need to do in order for them to gain peace in their lives. And when you're dealing with the parent issue, and when you're dealing with parents who are narcissists and parents who are just not going to face the issues and therefore feel as though they haven't done anything wrong, when you're giving them the opportunity to look, let's get together, let's resolve this matter. I don't have a problem with moving forward with you, but there are some things that we need to talk about. And if you're not willing to talk about these things, then you go your way and I will go mine. And that's just the issue. Now, I'm getting ready to go into some things, but I just wanted to put this short entrance into this issue that I'm getting ready to cover, that is very sensitive, and it's some people who don't really like talking about these type of things. But as I said before, I'm not concerned about those type of people. There are a lot of people out here who have parents that are abusive, psychologically abusive, and emotionally abusive to their children. And it really doesn't matter how old their children are, because these parents are now they're older, and their organisms are pretty much on their way out. And so it just seems like the children who they disregarded, ignored, neglect, and abused, it seems like those are the children that they are always reaching out to when they're just about on their way out of here. Now, the children who put them through hell, the ones that they had favored beyond everyone else, they look around and those family members are nowhere to be found. They're nowhere to be found. But one of the reasons why these parents are reaching out to the one who they abuse mostly is because these parents know that you have a good heart. And so now that they're on their way out and they need help, instead of them appreciating how good your heart was back in the past to establish a condition right now to where you would be willing to reach out and help them, because of their abuse, you're not willing to help them at all. But you're giving them the opportunity. Look, if you want my help, then let's talk about these certain things. I need to know why you did certain things. I need to know why you said certain things. But then when you have parents out here who feel as though they don't owe you an explanation for anything that they've done, but yet and still they just sit there, but you gonna take care of me too. No, absolutely not. Until we resolve these issues, I have nothing to say to you. We have nothing to talk about. And so that is the issue. And those are the people who I'm talking about this for. Now, if you can't relate to this, kick rocks. And that's just my attitude, but the whole thing is there are a lot of parents in this living journey that are very abusive and they feel as though no matter how much pain that they've caused in the past, they feel like, well, I'm old now and I'm on my way out of here. And so now I'm ready to act like I got some sense. Yeah, but there's a mess that you made back there that has been affecting me all of my life. And it hasn't been affecting me all of my life to the degree that I haven't been able to have relationships with people, like friendships and romantic relationships or anything like that. It hasn't affected me in that sense. It has affected my relationship with you. It has affected my relationship with you. So don't think you so tough that you has affected me, have affected my life to the degree that I'm not able to maintain relationships with other people, because that's not what the case is. But now that you're up in my face and you look around and you're not able to see any of these other people who you help influence against me, now here you come, because none of those people are anywhere around and they don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be bothered. But now here you come, and you expected me to respond in a way to where you never did anything. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into this. This is what we're going to go into, because I'm not the only person that has been through this. And like I say, my life is very transparent. It's very transparent. And it's very transparent by choice. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into this. I believe it's like 3 days ago, I created a video, and it's talking about instinctive love and established love. And the reason why I explain this so much is because of my experience and what the religion Christianity teaches of how you are to honor your parents, that their days may be long, that your days may be long upon the earth. Not in every situation is that possible, because of the way that the type of relationship that the parents have with the children. A lot of times, the type of relationship that the parents have with their children doesn't go in harmony with what that scripture talks about, what that scripture implies, and in a sense, what that scripture actually demands from the child, you know. But what a lot of pastors don't like to talk about is because a lot of parents out there in their latter years have not established the type of relationship that puts the child in the position instinctively that they would actually be interested in executing towards the parent, because the parent haven't established the type of love that they were supposed to be able to establish because of their instinctive love. You have to establish that type of response out of the children by the way that you treat the children during the years leading up to your latter years of when you are in need for your children to take care of them. I talk about resolve a whole lot, because when those years come up to where your parents are going into their latter years, they were supposed to have already established a relationship with the children to the degree not only should the children instinctively would like to take care of their parents, but a whole lot of times when you establish the type of love that you are supposed to as a parent towards the children, those children are actually looking forward to taking care of you, because you established the type of relationship with those children to the degree that, in spite of you being older and you're not able to fend for yourself, those children are put in a position to now be the parent who has that love inside, in order for them to be willing to take care of the parent. And I'm hoping that I explained that correctly, but I'm going to explain it again. You know how your parent take care of you as a child? There's a love there. There's a compassion there. You know, they take care of you. And then as you grow up, when that parent continues to pour love into you and compassion into you and good treatment into you, in opposition of abuse, as time goes on, when you become an adult and they go through their second stage of childhood, you might as well say, because a whole lot of people say that when you become older, that's like your second childhood in terms of the organism, because the organism goes into a time just like the baby being born without teeth. We're going to lose our teeth, you know, and the baby have to grow strong. As in your latter years, your organism starts to diminish and become weak. And so when you establish that type of loving relationship with your child, when you go through that portion of your living experience, as far as the organism is concerned, and you start losing, you know, your ability to fend for yourself, the same way that the child didn't have the ability to fend for themselves. And now that the child can fend for itself and you can't, then that child, simply because that child has been nourished with an established love to go in harmony with their instinctive love, they're able to tend to you the same as you tended to them when they was a child. They're able to tend to you in your latter years because you established a love towards them in their early years. I mean, that's how it operates. It operates like that. But all of that is inspired by the way that you treat your children going towards your latter years, as far as the relationship that you're having with them through the years while they're going into their adulthood. So, but if you go in opposition of the divine principles as a parent towards the child by not establishing a love inside of them, in which goes in harmony with their instinctive love towards you, then during those latter years, you can't point your finger at your children when they would rather not be bothered with you because of your cruelty in the past. However, when you have children who would rather inquire to you, Mama, Daddy, what did I do? And then in terms of your memory, and even in their memory, if you haven't done anything to warrant their treatment towards you, you're gonna like, okay, well, what happened in your life that made you like this? And then when you inquire to both parents and they say, nothing happened to me. However, you have done nothing to warrant certain behavior that puts you in a position of, well, why did you say these things? Why did you do these things? And instead of them just coming out saying because I was just wrong, and I really apologize for that. You know, I shouldn't have said those things. I shouldn't have done those things. And can we talk about it, you know, so we can get past this, you know? But when you have parents who won't even respond, because it's like at the beginning of the video, I'm ranting to my mother, trying to get her to respond. And my mother is the type of woman, she'll sit there and she'll listen to you. And she'll know that what you're saying is a fact. And she'll know that she's wrong. But she won't mumble not one word. My mother's the type of woman where if she knows that you're bleeding from wounds in which she inflicted, and you're basically telling her, Mom, help me heal from this. Help me stop the bleeding on the inside, because you're my mother and you're not supposed to hurt me like this. You know, you're not supposed to hurt me like that. Instinctively, I want you to be here with me. I want to take care of you. Instinctively, you're my mother. I want to take care of you. Not because I'm supposed to. I ain't supposed to do anything. Okay? I'm not supposed to do anything. I'm supposed to, I should want to do this. And the only way that I would be inspired to want to do this, you have to imbue that in me by the way that you've treated me in the past. This is the point to a lot of parents. Now, I had an Aunt Ruth. As a matter of fact, my Aunt Ruth Hampton was the aunt that I used to go over to her house a lot from when I was the age of 12. And I used to be up in her attic, you know, studying, you know, a whole lot of books. But my Aunt Ruth was a very mean and cruel woman during her life journey. She was loose, she was mean, she was cruel, she was vindictive, she was manipulating, and she caused a whole lot of turmoil in both of her sons' life. And not only her husband's life, Big Bill, who's my uncle, she caused turmoil in both of her sons' life. And, you know, she caused my cousin Byron, who's actually my favorite cousin. She caused him turmoil in his life and in his marriage life to the degree he ended up being an alcoholic and he drank himself to death. And so a lot of people, well, you can't blame her. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I mean, you know, it's cause and effect. Yeah, I know he's a grown man. Like you black folks love to say, he's a grown man. Yeah, whatever. I understand cause and effect. Now, if y'all don't want to acknowledge cause and effect, then that's your ignorance. That's your ignorance. Yeah, I'm calling you ignorant. But the whole thing is, when you cause turmoil in people's life, it has an effect upon them. And so when he ended up losing his family behind what she helped cause in his life, he ended up being an alcoholic, and he lost control of himself. And in time, he ended up dying inside of an institution out there. And so, in her latter years, she ended up having to move out of her home because she had gotten older in her latter years, and of course, and so she was put in a whole lot of different nursing homes. And she was such a mean and cruel woman that was always moving her around to certain nursing homes. And at the same time, she was causing my other cousin, who was known as Little Bill, she caused him turmoil. And so with all of that, during her memorial service, because of the way that she's treated people through her entire life, she had at her memorial service 5 people. And 5 of these people were family members. And therefore, she didn't have anyone at her funeral. And it's only because of the way that she treated other people during the course of her life. Now, with that being said, when you mistreat people in your life, the celebration of your life, as far as the memorial is concerned, it's not to celebrate. For some people, it's just not to celebrate how great of a person they was. A lot of people are celebrating your death because you're no longer here to cause any more pain. And that's just a fact, because that's exactly the way that I feel about my father. Absolutely. Like I said, my life is very transparent. Now you may say, well, here's a man who was waiting to celebrate the death of his father. Absolutely. Because if you are living your life for one sole purpose, and if it's only to cause pain, you need to go. Because that's not what you're put on this earth to do. You're not put on this earth to cause pain in other people's lives. That's not why you're here. So, with that, I bring my Aunt Ruth up. And so now my mother, for years, I used to try to get her to talk about these things. I mean, even when I mentioned on the phone about her throwing my son's footage away on the day that he was born. Do you think for 1 second she said, well, I apologize about that, I was wrong? No. And this was her grandson. For a woman, okay, to say, this is footage of my grandson being born, and simply because his father won't give me $50, because in truth, his father can't give me $50, I'm going to throw my grandson's footage in the trash. And I have a husband who I'm supposed to go to if I need $50. Shouldn't I be asking my husband? Why am I asking my son? Why am I throwing my grandson's footage away when his father told me that he wanted to edit this footage so that when his son gets 21 years old, he wants to show his son the very day he came into this life. Now, this is somebody who understands the importance of this. And at the same time, she knows how important that is to you. But principally, she knows that this is very important. However, because I wasn't able to give her $50, she threw it right in the trash. Didn't mean anything to her. So she not only took it from me, but she took it from her grandson. So I wasn't in a position to where I could show my son when the very moment that he came into the world. And for what? But you heard right there on the phone call, she didn't say anything. My mother is the type of woman to where she will sit there, because not too long ago, it was years ago, she was out here. I remember one night, I sat at her kitchen table, and I was just bleeding on the inside. I was bringing subjects up, and like, wow, can we talk about this? I'm hurting right now, and I'm not the type of person to where I'm always going around talking about things. Okay, because what I mean by is that when I'm conflicted with someone, there's sometimes instinctively to where I'm loving on that person, and then there's some times where I need to talk about these things. But when you're dealing with someone who's absolutely not going to talk about it, and she knows that you're bleeding, and she can't face herself, or she's unwilling to face herself, or she's thinking that I don't have anything to face, what you're dealing with is a person that is practically dead on the inside. She's dead on the inside. And she's a example of when Peter had told Yeshua, I need to go back and bury my father. Yeshua said, suffer it be so, and you let the dead bury the dead. Suffer it be so. You have to detach yourself. You're going to go through a period to where you're going to have to suffer to detach yourself from what is commonly demonstrated emotionally, psychologically. Okay? You're going to have to let go of those people. Suffer it be so. Yeah, it's painful, but you're going to have to suffer it be so. And you let the dead bury the dead. Well, who are the dead that's burying the dead? Those people who are on their level. You let the dead bury their dead. So another thing, he's telling you, you have nothing in common with those people anymore. You have nothing in common with them. They are not your family. Who is my mother? Who is my brother? Who is my sister? Those who do the will of my Father. Okay? I totally get that, because everything is indeed of principle. Everything is principle. And this is what a lot of people are going to have to understand. And see, this is something that she understands. But when you're dealing with a person who is a narcissist, when you're dealing with a person who knows that no one owes them anything, but at the same time, she thinks through your instinctive love, she knows. And she figures that it'll be all right. He's got a good heart. It'll all work out. Because she says that all the time. Things are going to work out. Things are going to. See, that's somebody who's taking advantage of your good heart. Instead of her helping you get past this, so it can be much easier for you to do what is necessary to make her life more pleasant. You're going to suffer. And at the same time, you are going to help. You're going to rescue me from this mess that I put myself in. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't deal with narcissists. Everybody who knows David, if David has wronged you, David will come to you. And even if you come to me and you say, David, we need to sit down and we need to talk, because you hurt my feelings, thus and so. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to listen to you. And if I agree that I've wronged you, then I'm going to ask you, how has that affected you? And how has that affected your relationship with other people? Because I can't be guilty of hurting you without being guilty of hurting others in your living experience. Is it just you that I have to apologize to? Or is there other people that I have to apologize to? Now, as unrealistic as this may sound to a lot of people, I'm very much aware of this living experience and how one hurt person can sometimes hurt others because they haven't resolved their issues with the person who previously hurt them. Cause and effect, and then the effect becomes the cause. That's how it is. Now, when you're living a life where you have parents who are now getting old, they're in their latter years, they've made a whole lot of mistakes in the past towards you and others, and now they're in a situation, and it's not that they've become more enlightened. They are just in a situation that they don't want to be in. That's all it is. They don't feel any remorse or anything like that. And the reason why they don't feel any remorse is because when you bring certain subjects to them and they say, why did you do this? You know, you ask them, why did you do this? Why did you say this? What did I do? If they can't give you an answer, they think you owe them. They think that you owe them something simply because those are your parents, but you don't owe them anything. You don't owe them anything. So when it comes to that biblical stuff, honor thy father and thy mother, that your days may be long upon the earth, blah, blah, blah. Come on, y'all. Teach the facts. The parents have to establish that relationship. Instinctively, I love you. And my instinct is like, I want to take care of my mother. I want my mother around me. But if you don't establish that type of love and respect and honor inside of me, I'm on empty when it comes to times of when you're in need of my help. I'm not able to help you because it's so many things that are unresolved that you don't want to resolve. You don't want to face yourself. I'm helping you face yourself. Now I'm speaking in general for right now. So if there's anyone that's watching this who can relate to this, the only thing that we're asking them to do, let's face these issues. Let's resolve these issues so that the healing can begin, so that we will be able to be in an environment around each other, so that we can create this beautiful relationship that is supposedly be natural for the both of us to go in harmony with loving one another, so that your latter years before you leave this planet will be pleasant, because we both worked in harmony with healing the past, so that we will be able to respond adequately in the present. It's really that simple. It's not complicated. It's really not complicated. You know, it's not complicated. But when you're dealing with parents who feel as though they don't owe you any explanation at all, even though they know that they've wronged you, but at the same time, I don't owe you anything. And now that I'm old and I'm on my way out of here, guess who's going to take care of me? You're going to do it. And a human being like me is going to tell you, no, I'm not. All of those people who you favored so much, those people who don't want to be bothered with you right now, pick up the phone and call them. Because I'm not going to sit around and allow the goodness of my heart to be used. You know? No. You're not going to use me. I'm going to utilize it on my own. But that takes resolve. It takes resolve. That's what it takes. And I'm not the only one on this planet. Because I have a Facebook friend that I communicate with sometimes. Her name is Wilma Bishop. She had the same issue with her mother. But a lot of these parents will take their madness to the grave. That's just like that movie, Fences. A lot of people thought that the man was really teaching his son something, liking your ass wasn't part of the bargain. And why you worried about, he asked his father, how come you never liked me? Never liked me. So he's basically telling his father, as long as I've been on this planet, you have treated me in a way to where not only don't you love me, but you don't like me as a human being. And a whole lot of you black men out there, you overly masculine bastards. Yeah, I'm calling you bastards. That is no way to treat your son. To have your son walk around here feeling like he ain't liked by his own father, and therefore he ain't loved by his own father, because his father got beat down by the system of racism, and you looking up to a man like that? That man ain't no hero. That man is a punk. He let society and racism beat him down to the degree he didn't even know how to have a decent relationship with his son. So he's using his son as a punching bag because he didn't have enough cojones or whatever the hell y'all call it to stand up towards the system and the man who he felt like was abusing him. So he takes all of that and he starts beating on the son because he didn't have enough balls to stand up against his oppressor. Regardless of what you're going through in this life, you should never allow your son or make your son feel as though he is not loved by you or even liked by you. That's a punk way to be. You a punk. That's what you are. Because I don't care what I've been through out here in this world. Neither one of my sons are walking around feeling like their father don't like them. And then at the end of the movie, that symbolic scene where they was looking up at the sky, and symbolically the man's spirit was smiling down on them on the earth. That don't mean nothing, bro. Because when you was down here on this earth, all you gave us is hell. You give your children heaven while you're on this planet. You don't give them hell. You don't have your children walking around here feeling like they don't love, you don't love them, and let alone you don't like them as a human being. And a whole lot of you black men out there, yeah, I understand what he's talking about. Yeah, that's real. No, it ain't. That's not real at all. You don't have your sons walking around here feeling like they are not liked by you. That's not masculine. That's acting like a bitch. Raise your son to be intelligent men, not angry men. Not walking around being angry and hurt and rigid towards the world. You're supposed to raise your children to be human beings and not Frankensteins. That's what you're supposed to raise them to be. Raise them to be human beings, individuals, and not monsters. So that when you're going into your latter years right now, and when you need their help, well, come on out here, mom. Come on out here, daddy. I got you. Don't even worry about it. You want to know what the results of that is? It's the results of you establishing the love inside of them to where the Bible talks about. You get the results of honor and respect. The children do not come into the world instinctively honoring and respecting you. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's a contradiction. No, it's not. See, we have an instinctive love sitting up inside of us, which is, it is a potential for us to fulfill those divine principles of loving and honor and respect. But when you establish that love on us, that's like the sun and the rain coming down and germinating on the seed to where that child can grow up loving and honoring you by the way that you treat them. If you mistreat your children, they will not love and honor you when you go into your latter years. They are not going to be there. Now, some children won't even give you the opportunity and ask why. Mama, daddy, before we go forward, so that I may know that I'm just not being used, so that I may be able to enjoy these latter years honestly with you without feeling as though I'm in conflict on the inside. Please tell me, why did you treat me this way? You have to resolve your differences with your children. There's no way around it. If you want them to be in your corner during your latter years, the way that you treat your children determines if they're going to be there for you in your latter years or not. And the biggest abuse towards the children is you imbuing in them hatred, and therefore not imbuing in them the love that you were supposedly, as a parent, to imbue in them and to nourish in them. The biggest abuse towards them is you're not doing that, because their instinctive love wants to be executed, but they can't because there's too many unresolved issues. And if you're not willing to talk to them and to help them heal and stop that bleeding that you caused on the inside of them, and if they see that there's no use, you know what they're going to do? They're going to let you go. They're going to stop answering your phone calls. They're going to let you go. You want to know why? Because they have a life to live. And they don't want to live the rest of their lives angry, hurt, and all of that, because those things clutter the mind to the degree it's hard for them to be productive towards what they want to do in life. And as a writer, not only speaking for myself, but if you would study other writers, and if you have the privilege of knowing certain people who are in writing, yes, it's a privilege. And if you ask them, what type of environment does it take in order for you to have proper concentration? They will tell you, you have to have an environment that is peaceful. You have to create an environment around you that is divine. You might as well say it has to be a very beautiful and calm environment in order for you to be able to be productive, so that you can produce beautiful things to the world. But if you have people in your life that put you in the position to where you're always in conflict with yourself, and if they know that the only thing they have to do is face, what they did, and by them knowing that you're not the type of person where, while they're facing what they did in the conversation, I'm not here to condemn you. I just want an understanding. I need an apology from you. And I need a sincere apology from you. I understand maybe you were raised wrong, or maybe you are incapable of expressing that type of love, because we do have a lot of parents out there They don't know how to express it. Well, at least tell me that. Just don't go silent. Just don't go silent. Just don't sit there like, well, you're on your own. Okay, well, if I'm on my own with this, then I'll be on my own. You get yourself out of that situation, because I can help you get out of that situation. The only thing I'm asking, hey, let's talk about these things. That's pretty much it. As one of my other videos said, there can be no forgiveness without resolve. Whether it's politics or religion, a whole lot of things that you see going on in the world over in the Middle East or right over here in this Babylonian American system, the only way that peace is going to manifest, it has to be some resolve. So I'm hoping that I got my points across clearly, but I would suggest to the parents out there who are going into their latter years to consider facing yourself, forgiving yourself for what you did. And when you forgive yourself, what happens is the Creator and the universe imbues compassion and intelligence in you to where you're able to pick up the phone or go to them, and you are at peace saying, look, we need to talk. Let's get past this so that we can enjoy one another with what time we are blessed to have. Let's get past it. Because I don't want you to let me go. And I know you don't want to let me go. But we have to get past this. If we're going to be in each other's lives, we have to be in each other's lives in a way to where there's no conflict on the inside. And then you don't have to worry about me having good days towards you and then having real bad days towards you. And then you have the nerve to sit up there like, what's wrong? You know what's wrong. And no one wants to live like that. No one wants to live like that. So that's why my channel talks about healing, and my life is very transparent because I'm not the type of person, I don't care. I don't care how people see me. You know, people who respond like that, my content is not for you. And I'm on here relating to the people who understand exactly what I'm talking about. I'm on here to talk about different issues that a whole lot of people may find uncomfortable to talk about, but I put myself out there, and I'm pretty certain I'm not the only one, but I put myself out there, and I don't look at myself as risking putting myself out there because I'm not worried about that. You can attack me, but you ain't gonna win the debate. You're not gonna win. Okay? Because I'm not out here to make enemies, and I'm not out here to make friends either. I'm just out here sharing what I know. And if a lot of people may say, well, he out here sharing his personal business, it's my personal business. I can do what with my I can do whatever the hell I want with my life experience. I could either share it with you or not. I mean, this is my experience. I don't have to share it if I don't want to, you know. But as I say at the end of all of my videos, with all of that being said, I hope that this helps someone who is able to relate to this. And if some of you are not able to relate to this and you're still generous enough to sit and listen, I really appreciate it. And if you do know someone in your life who you think that this could be helpful towards, share the video with them, because it's all about healing. That's what it's all about. It's all about healing, because life is healing. And like I always say, when we're hurting, we're in a process of healing. And what that means is that healing is an activity. I'm healing, which implies I'm still alive. I'm not dead. And I'm healing while I'm hurting. If you fall down and you break a bone, or anytime you're in pain, it only means that you're healing all at the same time. Because the Creator puts a healing element inside of hurting. And this is the reason why those two go in harmony. I'm hurting because I'm healing. I'm healing because I'm hurting. So we're talking about a process of time, a measurement of time, to where the hurt gets less because the healing is present. So there's a communication effort there. There's a communication principle there. And this is one of the primary reasons why I encourage a lot of you to communicate with one another. Sit down at the table. Talk about it, mama. Talk about it, daddy. Talk about it, sister. Talk about it, brother. Uncle, nephew. Whoever you're having problems with in your family or outside of your family. Men, if there's a ex-woman out there that you've hurt, call her and apologize to her. And even if she would rather not talk to you about it, accept it. But one of the reasons why she may not want to talk to you about it, you may have to live with the fact that you helped create that. And even if she keeps hanging up the phone, send her an email, something like that, and just admit, hey, look, what I did to you was wrong, and I'm taking this time to apologize. Now, whether you accept it or not, at least I put forth the effort to resolve this matter. It's the thing of remaining human. Stay human. That's all you have to do. It's just a part of being a human being. It's not as complicated as most people make it. It's just being a human being. That's all it is. Being a human being. And get rid of all of these expectations and these demands on others simply because you're a parent. Because it takes someone who understands what being human is in order to be willing to sit down at the table and talk about how we're going to go about healing this. Put everything on the table. And until that's being done, and until that's gotten, and until everyone has gotten past that, you won't be able to move forward. But what takes being willing to heal a certain situation, it takes love. You can't tell me that you love me, but you're not willing to face yourself so that we both can face one another and get past this. So with all of that being said, like I said previously, I hope that this helped someone. And so, as I said before, it's very important to remain human, a member of humanity. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, Christian, Muslim, it doesn't matter. When it all boils down to it, we are responsible for one another. We are responsible for one another's hurt, and we're also responsible for one another's healing. So with all of that being said, I just hope that someone got something out of this. And if you want to leave any comments, or if you don't want to leave any comments, that's fine. But if you bump into anyone who you feel that this will be of some use to, then just go ahead and share the video, because I'm about healing. I'm not about being famous here on YouTube. I just know how very powerful healing is. And I'm only interested in one thing, is doing my part to make this beautiful planet that I live on, which is our home, a better place to live. So that's all I'm really concerned about. So with that being said, I leave this conversation by saying, stay human. Okay? Y'all have a good night. Peace. Of course, there was some pushback of my last video, of course. Some was saying that I gave out some ill advice to my brother, Georgia. It's the way you feel, fine. But what a lot of people in our community is going to have to understand, you're going to have to get to the point to where you're going to have to learn how to separate the children and what's beneficial to them from the discompatibilities that you have with each other. Okay. And see, when I was coming up in Chicago, when my grandfather would come by, what I noticed about him, the relationship that everyone had with him, everyone would refer to him as Junior because my great-grandfather, James Kelly Sr., was his father. And he passed away, I believe it was like 6 months before I was physically born. So I never got a chance to meet him. Now, my grandfather, James Kelly Jr., who is my mother's father, those two didn't have a real good relationship. And so as I was coming up, when I was very, very young, I was told not to refer to him as grandfather, but to refer to him as Junior. And so by this being told to me, by me being so young, this was conditioned into my mind, unconsciously yet consciously. Unconsciously because I was too young to challenge that. Now, unconsciously, I was being programmed against referring to my grandfather as grandfather, if that's understood. And so when you're programmed like that and you grow up, grandfather becomes simply the knowledge of who this person is to you in reference to being a relative. And what makes that so limited and detached is the fact that you've been programmed to not refer to him as grandfather or granddad, grandpops, or anything like that. When he comes around, you see him as Junior. And by him and your mother not having a very good relationship, naturally, whenever there's some dialogue going on with her in reference to him in your environment, it's not gonna be spoken very well of the man's character. And this is done a lot of times, especially in our community. And so when my grandfather would come by, due to the fact that me being programmed, not referring to him as grandfather, I didn't have the ability, you might as well say, to have an affection towards him as my grandfather, because I was programmed to refer to him as Junior. And by me being around people that were always speaking ill of this man, I come up feeling ill towards him. I felt like he was a threat to me, even though this man never did anything to me. And so as time progressed, I remember questioning my mother about, referring to him as Junior and not grandfather. And she said, no, you are not to call him grandfather. You are to refer to him as Junior. Now, she told me this, I believe I was the age of 11. And so, like I said, when you come up in an environment that is hostile and hostile towards your grandfather, you submit to your mother's wishes. And simply because she doesn't have a healthy relationship with him, you won't, because you're being programmed. And so whenever he would come by to visit my great grandmother, who was his mother, of course, there wouldn't be any excitement like, hey, my granddad's here, So through the years, we didn't develop a common or even close relationship as grandfather and grandson, because there was a psychological and emotional impediment in between that. Now, as I got older, I found out by way of asking a whole bunch of questions, how come my mother and my granddad never get along? I was 9 years old, and my granddad and his third wife, their house was getting some painting done, or some type of repairs. And so my granddad and his new wife, and I believe a couple of my little uncles, had to move in with us. I believe it was like for a week. And so one night, and so we gave up our bedrooms, and we were sleeping in the living room. Me and my uncles, we were just all sleeping in the living room on the floor. I believe my older sister was there as well. And so my mother was the type of woman, she would run the streets a whole lot. She was out there. I'm not gonna sit here and play with that. Okay, she was just out there. So one night, my mother comes home. I believe it was almost between 12:30 a.m. close to 1 o'clock. This was after the house had already settled down. So due to the fact that the house had already settled down and she comes in so late, my grandfather had to get up and open up the door for her. So she comes in with a little tight dress on and everything. And so there in the hallway outside my great-grandmother's room, in a dispute about her coming home so late. And so they went back and forth arguing. And so my granddad said, in the midst of the argument, "You just like your damn mother." And my mother said, well, she was good enough for you to lay with her. The next thing I heard, my grandfather had struck my mother. Pow! And I heard my mother, she started crying. I get up, this is a instinct of mine. And so I run back there to the hallway. I'm like, what's going on? My granddad looked at me and he pointed back to the living room. He said, "Go on back there and lay down." He said, "This doesn't have anything to do with you." And so I turned around and I went back into the living room and I laid back down. And of course I was curious of what transpired. And the very next day, and as time went on, no one ever brought that up. What happened that night? It was like the very next day, it was like it didn't even happen. But what I noticed was my grandfather's words, the words that he used. He didn't say, "You just like your mother." He said, "You're just like your damn mother." And what I noticed, the words that he used when he said, "You just like your damn mother," I'm like, whoa. He said, "Damn mother." So that implies a history of discord, strong discord and disappointment and dysfunctional relationship between my grandfather. And obviously, my mother had reflected some of my grandmother's characteristics and her lifestyle and stuff like that. And so as time went on, I had a chance to talk to my grandfather. And I asked him, I'm like, what happened between you and my grandmother? And he wasn't able to talk about it. And he told me, he said, "David, I'm only going to say this." He said, "All that I've ever wanted in my life was a woman that loved God and loved me." And I didn't push the issue for him to tell me about my grandmother because my mind reflected back to the lifestyle that my mother was living. And I'm like, well, maybe he's trying to protect me, something like that. And then I saw some pictures of my grandmother and him and my mother sitting on her lap. And see, my grandfather was in the Navy. He was a pilot during World War II. And as a matter of fact, he had got shot down by Germany a couple of times and he survived it. Now, what I noticed on these pictures of him and my grandmother, while he was in his Navy suit, my grandmother looked at very ladylike. She looked at very much wife material. And so she had my mother sit on her lap. Now, after they got divorced, I saw this other picture of my grandmother, and she was sitting in, she was standing next to her, looked like it was a bedroom dresser. And she had on a tight fitting dress. The dresser had a bunch of perfume and looked like it had makeup on it. And she was a beautiful woman. You know, she had very long hair. She was a mixture of Indian and Creole. And but what I noticed about my grandmother, she had, now I don't know what they call these, but I'm going to try to give a description of it best way that I can. But she had these lace looking things that the women back in the day would stick their fingers through, and it would these lace looking things. And so she wore those. She wore, like, you know, jewelry and things like that. And to be honest with you, she looked like she worked in a brothel. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Just being honest with you. And so I always felt like he was trying to protect me by not telling me about my grandmother. And my mother didn't know a lot about my grandmother, because my grandmother had passed away when my mother was but 7 years old. She had remarried, and she moved, because see, my grandmother on my mother's side, she was from, her people come out of Atlanta, but they immigrated from India to Atlanta. So their ancestors on my mother's side, on my grandmother's side of my mother's side, they immigrated to Chicago from India to Atlanta, Georgia. And they had got, from what I was told, I don't know how true this is, they had mingled with some of the British people out there in Atlanta. And it had gotten to the point where my grandmother just didn't want to live in Atlanta no more. So she moved to Chicago, and this is how she met my grandmother. But through her second marriage, she met a guy from Chicago. She caught tuberculosis, and she passed away at the young age of 27 years old. She died very young. And so she was 27, and my mother was just 7 years old. So my mother didn't really know a lot about her mother. So there was a lot going on in that area. But all I know is that my granddad saw a lot of my grandmother, Murtis. Her name was Murtis Harper. So he saw a lot of Murtis in my mother. And what I've noticed about my mother, my oldest sister, they have this, how can I put this? This way about themselves, to where most people would deem them as not being too ladylike. because my mother was out there in the entertainment field. She went out with a whole lot of singers like Smokey Robinson, and she had a long relationship with the late comedian Flip Wilson, rest in peace. Beautiful, beautiful man, beautiful personality, very nice to me, because they were on the road for a long time, and it had gotten to the point to where they needed to take a rest, and so they stayed with us for up to 4 months in Chicago, and that way I had the chance to meet Flip Wilson, got to know Flip Wilson. He was very generous to me. As a matter of fact, the first time that I met Mr. Wilson, I'm not going to disrespect him and call him Flip, because he was more than that to me. But, the first time I met Mr. Wilson, obviously my mother told him how much I loved classical music, and so he gave me a big stack of albums that had a diverse collection of a whole lot of different types of music, from classical music to jazz. He was a nice man, rest in peace. But what it is that because of all of those things, and by me not being able to address my grandfather as grandfather, what a lot of people don't understand is that not being able to call your grandfather, that does a lot of damage, and to put some type of impediment in between something like that because you and that other person didn't get along, because my mother had asserted that he didn't show her a whole lot of affection. Okay, fine, that's between you and him. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. Now, people may say that's selfish. I don't care what you call it. It doesn't have anything to do with me. And so because of the way that they got along, it had affected my relationship with him. And I could tell a lot of times that he wanted to get to know me and I wanted to get to know him on the basis of grandfather and grandson, but that never transpired. And so that has an effect on you. And what that does, that prevents you from becoming close, growing to have an emotional and psychological connection with your grandfather or any other relative in your family, because of the discompatibilities that particular family member had with another family member. And so as time went on, I moved to Las Vegas, and let me see, the last time that I saw my grandfather in person was back in 1982. And I'm not accurate now, but I think that my grandfather had passed away in 2008. And when my great grandmother had passed, my family a lot of people went in different directions. They went in different directions. And so I ended up going to Atterbury Job Corps Center in Edinburgh, Indiana. And then from there, I went back to Chicago for a little while. And my mother had inherited a lot of money from my wealthy uncle, Miron Harper, who lived in California. So she had to move to California to take care of that. Now, when I got out of Atterbury Job Corps, I went back home to Chicago, I believe it's like for a month. And then she moved me out to California. But, and from that, there I went to another Job Corps center. And, excuse me. Turn my phone off. I went to another Job Corps center in Sierra, Nevada. And that's where I met the mother of my 2 sons. But I'm going through a lot. I'm going through a lot. But I'm going to get back to the primary point that I need to make. So and then from the Atterbury Job Corps, from Sierra Nevada Job Corps, I moved to Las Vegas, 1987, November the 22nd, 1987. And I've been here for that long, opposite of the year and a half that I spent in Atlanta, Georgia. But the way that I found out that my grandfather had passed was on Facebook, believe it or not. Because the family had become so dysfunctional. When my grandfather had passed, I didn't even know he had passed. But I had a feeling that he was no longer with us by, of course, the influence of so long ago. I figured, well, he's probably passed away by now. But what confirmed that is when I was searching for my uncles. And so I put in Gerald Anthony Kelly, and who was the oldest son of his 3rd wife. And so when I was, I sent him a friend request. And so when I was going through his pictures, I saw a picture of my grandfather. And it had Gerald saying, "Rest in peace." And so I sent him my phone number, and him and I talked. And I had explained to him why I wasn't there because I had no idea and how to get in touch with him. And my Uncle Gerald, my little Uncle Gerald, you might as well say, he had told me that my granddad wanted to contact me before he passed away. But, my granddad had passed away by way of Alzheimer's. And so my Uncle Gerald told me that out of all of his kids, he was the only one that he had recognized before he had passed away. But as time went on, I was working at the Rio Casino out here back in the kitchen. And so there's a singer called Bill Withers. And a lot of you people of my generation knows exactly what I'm talking about. As a matter of fact, some of the younger people may know who he is because he created the song "Lean on Me," which is of the movie that Morgan Freeman did, the movie "Lean on Me." So if you don't know who Bill Withers is, just look him up. And so it's something about Bill Withers' voice that used to always have me think of my granddad. And so while I was at work one night, my favorite Bill Withers song had came on, and it was "Lovely Day." And as I'm listening to this song, my mind reflected back to the pictures that I observed on my Uncle Gerald's Facebook. And a lot of the pictures that I saw of my grandfather, he showed a lot of physical affection towards all of them, which I think is a beautiful thing. You know, it's beautiful. And so instead of responding like a whole lot of people fall victim to responding when you observe these type of pictures, which means that some people will become envious or jealous of, you know, other family members who were privileged to have these times with a person like that. I didn't become that way, but what struck me, this was, let me see, I believe it was 3:14 in the morning, because I was working the graveyard shift from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. Suddenly it hit me while I was listening to that song. It hit me that I never hugged my grandfather. And you know, that hit me like a ton of bricks, because this beautiful man was in my life, all of my life. And never once did I ever hug my grandfather. You know, I'm thinking, where are my pictures with me hugging my grandfather? This man that's been in my life, all of my life. And I never hugged. Just. And you know, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And so I broke down at my job. And so I immediately called my Uncle Gerald. And when I called him, he could tell that I was upset. And he immediately said, "David, what's wrong?" And I told him, I said, you know, I never hugged him. And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Gerald, I was looking at all of the pictures in your Facebook. And I said, you know, it hit me that I never hugged that man, not one time, not in my life." I said, because of all of the drama that was going on between him and my mother, and her programming me not to call him my grandfather. I said, until this moment, this very moment, I understand the damage that was done to my mind when I was programmed not to refer to him as grandfather. I said, now I know how much damage that did to us. I said, and that's a terrible, evil, and demonic way to take something away from your child as something so beautiful, you know, like an opportunity to have a very loving and close relationship with your grandfather, for your grandfather to be able to come over and you're in your room and he comes in the door and you hear his voice. And instead of me saying, "Ooh, my granddad's here," and so I run out, I didn't hug my grandfather. I was programmed, I was influenced to think and feel that he was a threat to me, because others around me felt that he was a threat because of their relationship with him. So due to the fact that I was raised up to think and to feel that this man was a threat, I was raised up to think that he was a threat to me, and the man never in his life did anything to me. The man never even raised his voice at me. He never did anything to me. never disrespected me. He never raised his voice at me. He never put his hands on me. And even when I tell my mother, he never put his hands on me, of course, the black woman got to jump in and because if he would have put his hands on you, blah, 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 I don't want to hear that bullshit. Okay? Because you wouldn't have did a damn thing. All right? Because that's my grandfather. And if I was to have did anything out of line to where he felt justified in laying hands on me, he would have had that right to do so, because that was my grandfather. You know. So I bring all of this up. I went through all of that to bring all of this up. Is that when you bump into situations like what my previous video was talking about, my brother Derek in Atlanta with the extra child whose father is not around. And when he was telling me that when he would leave the kid behind, he wasn't comfortable with doing that. He felt like he should have brought the kid with him. And so when you don't execute the right thing by way of what's in your heart, then others suffer, the kids suffer. What's going on in the mind, as I said before, is between you and that other individual that eventually you're going to have to resolve your differences, because regardless of what you had or didn't have with that particular person, peace still has to abide. And the only way that peace is going to be able to abide, you both have to be willing to come together and resolve your differences. Now, my grandfather is not innocent, because he was so disappointed in my grandmother of my mother's side. It contaminated his relationship with my mother, because my mother she had reflected some of the same characteristics that my grandmother, Murders Harper, reflected. But his mistake was due to the fact that he didn't resolve his differences with my grandmother, even after they separated and they decided to go their separate ways. See, when things are left unresolved, that's like having a wound that is open and bleeding and you decide not to attend to it. You know, it's just going to keep bleeding. And soon there's going to be an infection. And through the infection, it's going to cause an effect. Now, due to the fact that those two never resolved their differences, you know, and due to the fact that they never really sat down and talked about why their relationship was not the way that it should have been, it affected me and affected others around them. And so because of them not resolving their differences, I had to find out that my grandfather had passed away by way of Facebook. So what you don't resolve is going to affect the children. It's always going to affect the children. And so this is why I was saying earlier, Do what is in your heart. Now, regardless of how my mother and my grandfather didn't get along, she had no right to tell me not to address him as grandfather. Now, it had gotten to a point to where I started calling him Gramps. And I will never forget the look on his face. See, because me and my grandfather are just, we're not even twins, we're clones. You know, we're practically clones, you might as well say. So we look so much alike, it's kind of eerie, you know, because when my Uncle Gerald talks to me, sometimes he tells me, man, you look so much like him. And you know, when him and his ex-wife came out here to visit, and we were all at a restaurant eating, I noticed how my Uncle Gerald just kept looking over at me, shaking his head. He said, you look so much like him. It's just, it's incredible how much you look like him. And you know, I can understand that, you know, but because of them having unresolved issues, it affected him and our relationship. But when I called him Gramps, he looked at me and he smiled. And that's when we started developing almost a good communication. But then not too long after that, my great grandmother had passed. And like I said before, when she passed away, the family, everybody broke up and went in their other different directions. And the mistake that we made as a family in Chicago was that we had so many unresolved issues going on in Chicago. And my great grandmother, Rebecca Kelly, her name was Rebecca Kelly, when she passed away, it had impacted my family in such a way that everybody, you know, it was like shattering a window. Everybody just went in different directions. And nobody ever, the elders didn't take the responsibility of getting everyone together to talk about how her death affected all of us. So, you know, whenever there's a major death in the family, instead of everyone going in their different directions, I would advise a lot of families out here to sit down and talk about how this particular death had affected them, and to work on the family remaining together and how we're going to move forward without this primary figure who kept the family together that is no longer with us. We never did that. And so due to the fact that him and my mother didn't do what was right in their hearts, and they were too caught up in the conflicts that was in the minds and everything, it affected other areas like me. And so to the brothers who didn't understand, and I think it was a couple of sisters who didn't understand, you have to understand the impact that has on a child. You have to understand the impact that's going to have on a child. And so when I told Derek to just do what's in your heart, you know, and he decided to do just that, what's in his heart, because what's going on, or what went on between the little guy's mother And the other guy who got her pregnant didn't have anything to do with him. Nothing. He's just a kid. He's just trying to live his life. And so when he sees his sister, I won't say stepsister, but when he sees his sister leaving with her father, he's like, what about me? You know? And so to maintain him not feeling left out or hurt or abandoned or anything like that, just do what is best in your heart. And so I just wanted to put this together right quick to help a lot of people understand, regardless of all of the conflict and the discompatibilities and the drama and the dysfunctions and all of that, we have to keep in mind on how all of this is going to affect children, the younger generation. You know, so it's like an open wound, like I was saying earlier, that's consistently bleeding. It's consistently bleeding. Sooner or later, someone is going to have to attend to that wound so that that wound can heal. And from that healing, you move forward. And of course, you look back like any wound on your body. There's a scar there, and that scar represents the experience. It represents the experience. And so you move forward and you learn from the experience, and you learn how to move forward and how not to repeat the same cycle. And so what I think my brother Derek is doing, I think it's a beautiful thing for this young man to bring him on board, you know, and be that father figure to him. Now, even if his dad decides to come around, I was telling Derek to don't hold any animosity towards him. It's up to you guys. Don't hold any animosity towards him, because even that's going to affect this young man, and it's going to affect your daughter as well, because of the environment that's going around. You know, it's just hostile. So, you know how a lot of our people always say, we're grown. Yeah, but we have to understand exactly what grown means. Grown means you're 21 years old and you're legally considered grown. But the distinction of being grown and an adult is a big distinction with that. You know, you're grown man and woman when you're 21. It means you're legal. You're legal. But it doesn't imply that you're an adult. An adult, becoming an adult implies being mature, being able to handle things and respond to things adequately in all of your challenges. You know, so that's what being an adult means. It's just being responsible and being productive, being intelligent, and being all of the good qualities in which creates a person who is productive in society, responsible in society. Because, you know, we have a lot of people. I mean, I know some people that are close to 70 years old. They're grown, but they're still not adults, because they haven't reached that level of maturity yet. And sometimes a lot of their intellectual habits prevents them ever reaching that status of intellectual maturity. And a lot of times it's not even their faults. A whole lot of times it has everything to do with the environment. It has a lot to do with the environment. But I don't want to hold you too long. But I just wanted to address that, because I felt like it's very important. And I would encourage even the brothers and the couple of sisters who didn't agree, that's fine. I mean, you shouldn't agree with everything I say. You shouldn't, because you're an individual, and I'm not here promoting myself as a teacher or leader or anything like that. I mean, we're all in this life experience together. We're all in this life experience together. And if I feel as though you misunderstood something that I said, or if I didn't explain it to you clearly enough, then you're responsible to bringing that to my attention. And if I feel as though you misunderstood what I said, I'm not going to make a video. I'm not going to attack you. I'm just going to explain it a little bit more objectively so that you can see my point. And you're either going to do two things. You're either going to accept my conclusion of it, or you're not going to accept it. You're going to move on. But I'm not going to go back and forth and argue with you. I'm just going to give you my take on it based upon how I see it and my life experience and everything. And I'm just going to move forward from that. But I would suggest that we take care of our youth, and not only physically and doing the things that we're supposed to do domestically, as far as feeding, clothing and everything. But we have to be very responsible of how we speak things in the environment, because not too long ago I had my son's mother and both of my sons staying with me for a little while, and because she had lost her place, and she was waiting for her other place to get ready so that they can move. And for some reason, this woman has a anger and hatred towards me, which is her problem, because I don't care. I used to wonder about it, but why would you wonder about why does she hate me? Well, did you mess around on her? No. Did you mistreat her? No. Did you call her out her name? No. She's the one with the problems, not you. If you can't think of anything that provoked her to feel this way towards you, why insult your own intelligence and still asking why? Why? There is no why. You haven't done anything. She's the one who caused all of the confusion. But when they were staying with me, my oldest son is a taco genius. I call him genius anyway, because it seems like anything he gives his mind to, he's brilliant at it. But my oldest son, he used to like to fix my plate all the time because he just wanted to honor his father. That's it. That's all he wanted. And plus, he was very proud of the way that he made tacos. And so I'm sitting in the living room, and we were all in there looking at a movie, and I overheard her say, while he was fixing my plate, he said, "You don't have to fix his plate. You let that nigga fix his own plate." Now, I'm hearing this from the living room. So now I'm supposed to get up and go in the kitchen and like, "What you said to him?" But by me not being a very emotional person, and by me knowing her so well, why should I expect anything less from her? See, when you know someone and they say something like that, the only reason why you would react inadequately is if you were surprised of this person's character. But by this being who and what she is, it didn't surprise me. Of course, I didn't like it, because I felt like it was disrespectful for her to say something like that to my son. And it helped, and it made me think of my mother telling me that I can't address my grandfather as my grandfather. You know, so it's like my mother was telling me, you can't honor your grandfather as a grandfather. And so when I heard her tell my son, you don't have to fix his plate, you let him fix his own plate. That was her way of telling my son, you don't have to honor him as your father. You know, so I'm not going to get further into that subject because I feel like I've held you long enough. But let us understand the importance of environment when it comes to our children. Let us understand the importance of knowing that the children had absolutely nothing to do with the conflicts with us as adults. I don't feel that the children should have to suffer behind that. And so that's why I was telling my brother Derek, just do what's in your heart, man. Just do what's in your heart. Because instinctively, one of the reasons why he was feeling uncomfortable is because he's got a beautiful heart. And so when you go against the beauty of your own heart, you're going to grieve the beauty of your own heart. And that grief is going to transmit to your mind a question, you know, and that question is going to have an instinct in it that's going to question, how come you didn't take this child with you when you in your heart wanted to? And of course, the mind is going to say, well, that's not my kid. It's not my kid. All children are your children. It's not intellectual. The intellect that is based upon a past that is rooted in conflict. You know, always do what's right in your heart, regardless of the circumstances. And so, with all of that being said, I'm pretty certain I left some things out, but I feel like, you know, like I said, I feel like I've held you long enough. So I'm just going to cut this off by saying, always keep in mind on what affects the children and how it's going to affect their relationship when they become adults and they move forward. Whatever open wounds that you have in your life with particular family members or even friends or whatever area in your life to attend to, then attend to it. Attend to it. It's not going to kill you to heal matters in your life, because like I said in those other videos about the woman that I moved to Georgia to be with, Salam Yilma, I wrote her an email, you know, giving her the opportunity for us to resolve our differences, and I didn't hear back from her. And so because of that, I let it go. All you can do is do your part, and if someone doesn't want to collaborate with you in order to heal the situation, then what you do is you let it go, and you leave all of that other hatred and animosity and whatever they want to invest in it. Just leave that with them, and you let it go. You let it go, and you move forward. So, with all of that being said, like I always say, I hope that everyone have a good night, and I hope that someone got something out of what I presented to you. And just keep in mind, like I say, about how everything affects the youth in our life. And stay human, and everyone have a blessed night and be productive. Stay human. Okay? Peace.